Hello and happy September. I'm Lisanne Miller with W, Cushing and Company, and in conjunction with Rug Hooking Magazine, we're bringing you Third Thursday with Lisanne. I hope that you got a Celebrations magazine. We are sold out. We have a reorder, and they did sell out at Souter. They're wicked popular. So make sure you order one off the Rug Hooking Magazine website or call them with the 800 number that is in the inside panel right here. This is the June, July, and August issue. It's a wonderful issue. If you don't have it, it's got patterns in there. Please be sure to get that. And we thank Rug Hooking Magazine for working with W. Cushing. Well, I really appreciated everybody who stopped by our booth or stopped me in the hallway to thank me for Third Thursdays and give me some ideas. We appreciate it so much, and I appreciate all your kind words. So, with that in mind, today we're going to say to outline or not to outline. That's the question. And that was a question that was brought up, so thank you for that idea. And we're going to go over, this is probably one of your favorite things I heard. I've got a pile of rugs, a pile of wool and yarns, and we're going to go through as many as we can. So, we're going to start with look at your pattern. I know that we got out of outlining, that it was old school, but there are now certain patterns that need to have outline for definition or to look the way that they should look. So the first one I'm going to show you, this is a side-by-side comparison. Here is Bundle Up Buttercup, and there is no right or wrong. Let me explain that first off. But this really does show you outline or not outline. If you want a watercolor, a softer effect, the use of outline has to be minimal, okay? It has to be a tone on tone, like in Buttercup's hat, in these leaves to make the little mistletoe stand out, or the berries. The pom-pom is sculpted. I know you can't see it, but the pom-pom is sculpted. The hat is basically outlined, but this is not outlined in black, and black does not have to be the outline. This is outlined in a soft brown, and the brown that is most commonly used is our black walnut graduated dye, so that you can use this for multiple places in multiple outlines. And the black walnut can be dark, but then again, it can also be a soft or a medium outline, all the way to a brown-gray outline. So this has minimal outline for a watercolor look. This Buttercup is outlined, and it is outlined in a dark inky. It's outlined with a texture, and the texture has colors to it. Here is inky. Right here, you can see there's little squares of color, not a flat black, okay? And so in here, not a watercolor look, still bundling up Buttercup here. And the use of outline sets Buttercup up from her background, and it makes her chest puff out. This is not sculpted. It's the use of an outline and the use of directional hooking. The same thing with Buttercup's scarf. Here you have dimension with the way that it's hooked, especially the outline. And notice it's not just a single line. Here it's a double line outline so that it has dimension. So in this one, where outline was used, this here was used to add dimension without sculpting. And I'll just come back here for a minute. More of a watercolor look. Okay, and this is sculpted, and the fringe to give it dimension. So two different looks, both using a subtle outline and an outline to achieve fabulous results. Now sometimes you just have to outline certain things, and this is Goodnight Sheep. I'm sure you've seen it a lot on Facebook. So this is outlined with a gray texture because of the colors used. Yes, we could have picked a dark here or a dark there, but this is actually a texture, or actually, no, I'm sorry, it's an over dye. So as you can see, there's stripes of color in this over dye. And if it's cut with the stripe, you can use the different colors for a charcoal or just like a pencil line. Sometimes we want a pencil line to show a different delineation, and that is one way to do that. And this is a dyed wool that will achieve it. A lot of times people say, well, these are just ugly, what would I use them for? And this is a great use in this charcoal outline. In this piece, the rest of it is not outlined except for the face to not be hidden, the face and the ears. The use of quillies, the use of the quillies is another dimension, and it is an outline. And a lot of times when we use different techniques, it creates a subtle outline, which in turn reflects to linear outlines of the face, okay? But this did not need to be outlined, okay, the ruff here, the collar, because this collar is defined. The ears did not need to be outlined. It would have competed here and could have competed with the outline that was in. The overall effect is Goodnight Sheep stands up in a unique way from the background, and it is a soft, soft palette, but not a watercolor palette. And there is two types of outlining here. So outlining does not have to be a hooked line. It could be a line of quillies. It could be a line of standing wool. There's many different ways to use your outline for the effect that you want with the rug. So there's also a time when we don't outline. And that's when we use very high contrasting colors. This is Brother Rabbit. This is a William Morris. So when you use, and this is from a block print. So again, we're looking at the pattern and what we would like to do with it. So these are two contrasting, very high contrasting colors. And a lot of times in rug hooking today, we don't do high contrasting colors. We tend to blend more. But with a block print and a William Morris, you do need high contrasting colors, not outlining per se in this one, to show the definition. So in this case, there is not outlining at all, but the use of the background color to define the motifs. And it was done with two spot dyes so that it's not solid. There is movement in it, but this is no outline and high contrasting colors. And if it was outlined with a third color, it could jade the look of a block print. And if she had used more colors, if she had used 3, 4, 7, 5, whatever, then she would have had to outline. But two contrasting colors, there you go. You don't need the use of outline. Now here's a William Morris that needs outline. Okay, this is Loddon. And Loddon is more of an overall print. This is not a block print. This is not a block print like Brother Rabbit, okay? So outlining is needed. Yes, it is high contrast, but to give definition. So to define this. Now this is a very thin outline. You could cut, this can be cut wool in a 3. It can also be, and it just fell down here, metallic yarn, okay? So here's the metallic yarn. This is a brown metallic, there is black, and it's thin enough that you would just hook it. It is a little slick for some people, but in this case, you can use the metallic yarn as an outline, and we use this quite a bit in our storybook patterns. So that is a metallic yarn. You could use a black wool yarn. You can use a black velvet if you wanted it thicker, although in this case it would be overpowering. So everything here is outlined. It also helps you to separate the different components, such as this here. This was done in value change. This was done with value change. This was done with outline. The outside was done with outline sneaking in to give you that draping effect. So yes, you can combine two techniques in one piece to give you a fantastic look. But again, it really does need to be outlined, or it would blend just a tad too much. And with all these stems, it also gives you something to focus on. You can outline a section, then fill it in with your colors. You can outline a section, then hook your colors. And it does help in a pattern such as this. So this is Loudon. This is a William Morris, and this has value instead of outline and outline. It combines both. Also, outline is very effective in a turnover leaf. You can see that this little teardrop is outlined. Yes, the value changed, but it draws attention to the turnover. So if you're ever having trouble with turnover leaves, this is a good solution to it. All right, now we're going to go to no outline and not really value change. It is a combination of colors, okay? The blue sets up the tree trunks. Here are the tree tops that go linear. This is more of an abstract or a geometric. So you're not really paying too much attention to one tree, but an overall look. The use of outline would probably draw your attention too much to it. Also, if you did use outline, you could not do this, which means it looks almost the same top and bottom. This is the top, this is the bottom, but when you reverse it, you also get the same look. So in this case here, there is some value change, not a lot, but it is a geometric, it is an abstract, and you're looking more for flow. And outlining would have killed the use of showing it either way. So this is a no outline. We're going to go to an older rug now. This is just a wonderful, wonderful rug. It came to me through a mutual friend, and the nice part, and I'm going to deviate for 1 minute. The nice part about this, it came with an index card, and it came with an index card telling the history of the rug. And I will put it in a label in the back. I just love that it came telling me who hooked it, why it was hooked, the two women that worked on it. So that is something you should always consider, and putting it on a label on the back. So this has use of outline. It's a black cat, but it's an interesting use of outline. It's an interesting use of outline because it's not gray, it's not white. It's electric blue. In its heyday, this was a very, very bright blue. But the whiskers couldn't be blue. Inside the ears couldn't be blue. And I am assuming that the tail had many colors to it. So by combining a very soft brown and this electric blue, the outlining for the whiskers, the paws, instead of changing value, which they did not do, and also the use of the tail. By using the two colors, and actually three, at different lengths, they're not all the same length. And by using the blue here, it set this beautiful rug up. Also, the two values for the bow also help to set it up. It's just a lovely vintage piece with good use of outline here and good use of outline in here to give definition. You can use velvets. I talked about velvets for outline. It comes in a wide variety of colors, plum, maroon. You can use black. It doesn't always have to be a dark. You can do a light outline too if that is your palette. Now, here we have a great use of outline, and I want to look at the skates first. So with the background, the way that the background was chosen, that needed to be outlined, the skate would not have shown up. This is also a vintage postcard where there's a lot of line marks. So keeping with the vintage look, it's outlined. It's outlined in a very thin cut, very thin cut. The boot or the shoe did not have to be outlined and would have been overkill because it is dark. And that's a balance of outline. Now, here, and I want to go over this here, the outline is broken. There's no outline here, there's no outline here. Until I pointed it out, your eye had finished it. And that's one way to make sure that the outlines don't go heavy. It also tips the skate and tips the foot as well. So to give the overall vintage look, this is outlined in blue, and it's outlined in a blue texture after hours, so that there are highs and lows throughout all of it. And this is a wonderful outline. It is not black, it is dark blue, and it's used throughout very effectively. It makes the fur, it leads into the fur, the way that it drapes, and the use of the outline gives that vintage feel. It contains the scarf. It does balance to the hat. It's even used right in here to separate the face and hair a little bit for a vintage look. Again, not harsh, very soft line. And that soft line helps to create a vintage look, but also to see all the elements. This led to the blue-green in the holly and a blue outline with some of the holly leaves. So again, great use of outline, great use for a vintage look, and even around the face. I don't want to discount the face is very important. It is a very sweet face, and it stands up because of this single, I'm going to say it's a 2 or a 3 outline. Here is a very large rug, but we're not going to unwind it. It's Stampede. It's called Stampede. And if you like horses or you like a Southwest look, Stampede is for you. This whole rug is horses and the border, but we're going to focus right here because the horses are all done in 2 values of color of dyed wool. They are outlined in a dark brown. They're on a light background. Would they have stood up? Sure, they would have stood up. They would have stood up very, very nicely. And it would have been lovely to have them stand up. But you need the outline because there are so many motifs in this rug. So you have so many motifs coming in here, and they just keep coming in. You do need outline. She does outline here to separate the legs as well. Very good use of a subtle outline, did not change the color, just used a darker version. Black walnut graduated would have worked perfectly, and then set it up on a light background. Because each horse is like a mini rug, but each horse has to be on their own. They can't be modeled. Okay, and she didn't separate tail color. She kept it very calm in the center, so the outline has to be used. The border is outlined to show the rays, okay? And it's done to create a V and to create the rays. It is not, she didn't outline everything. She outlined where your eye should follow. She let the red and the orange stand out, but she let your eye follow it. So this is not a heavy border. It's a border that was effectively outlined to draw your attention but not detract from the center of the rug. Very effective. It takes a little time to figure out what to outline. If there was another black line here, it would change the look entirely. So that is Stampede, which is a very, very large rug. The next one that people would like to outline but don't, it's in the fantasy series, and it is Rabbit Rabbit. And Rabbit Rabbit uses value change and different bright colors to create its look. If you were to outline everything, you would be looking at the outlines, and there's so much change of color. And I mean that. There's a lot of change of color. You go from blues to teals to pink to orange to yellow. So the change of color helps. This is also not a realistic rabbit. So you draw attention with your dark where you would like it, with the eye, different things. But the overall look gives you what it is supposed to be. When something needed to be focused on, the background was brought in, not an outline. So this gives it an overall soft look, gives it a modern look, and looks very, very, very good. So I'm going to go to another fantasy piece that needs to be outlined. And this is Calm. And Calm needs to be outlined, okay? You need to outline certain things. The background is a medium value. It is a die, so it has motion. So in here, these have to be outlined to stand up. Yes, there is value change, but you need the snout, you need all of the antlers. And this is the case in a fantasy piece that it's a different palette, a different color palette. You need the outline. The outline is a brown. It is not a black to go with the deer. So in this case, outline in fantasy is needed, and you do it a little bit at a time to see how it works. And you may use different values of an outline, but if this did not have an outline, it would be very muddled. So sometimes when the colors are bold and contrasting, no in a fantasy. And here, yes, you do need to outline. Storybooks. A lot of you have hooked storybooks. Storybooks is what brought outlining back as far as having to outline. Outline is very important in storybooks. It shows the lines of the artist. And so if you look at these stones, they're not completely outlined, but they are V'd to outline. The bricks are outlined. Over here, the soffits, the windows. If you don't outline in a storybook, it becomes muddied and not that storybook look. Okay? Yes, it is a watercolor. Yes, there's certain things that are not, but you do have to outline, particularly the house, the sailboats, the bricks going down. You do some of the flowers to stand up. Yes, you could proddy the flowers and not outline them. There are different techniques, but not everything, and this is a gray, she has black, blue, and gray outline. So to create depth in the window, this is a little bit stronger of an outline right here. This is not as strong, and then she goes to gray to create a depth along with the colors that she is hooking. The tree is not. There's some that are outlined, but then she lets the viewer finish the piece. So here are a few wools that you can use. We've talked about after hours, and it can be textured or dyed. Elegant eggplant is another. Inky is another. Chocolate mousse is a brown that would work. It has other flecks. It is chocolate mousse. It is a chocolate brown. British green would give you a look that changes by what you put around it. It can be green, it can be blue, it can be gray. So this could be a universal piece to outline with. We did go over the black walnut, and this black walnut is graduated with all of these shades in it from here to here, gives you multi-use for an outline that is not harsh. Don't discount the use of purple in your outlines. Purple can be used quite a bit for your outline. You have the different colors you would cut with the stripe, and it would create a beautiful outline in the right piece. This also would create another beautiful outline that is a purple blue, and it would create a beautiful, beautiful outline that is not black, and this is just Wine Country. It's an off version of Wine Country, but it would work well. If this was your motif, you could use Wine Country as your outline. Don't discount a blue. Blues that have hazes through them, and blues that have greens through them, that would work as well. This is a great outline. It's a grayish purple. It's stone, but it's dyed on a texture. So you get the oomph of a texture. You get all these little colors in here. Not a harsh outline. If you're looking for a vintage look and you having a spooky Halloween, there you go. Spooky works. If you had to outline the moon of a Halloween, a deco Halloween rug, spooky would work. Again, we did go over this. Most people would pass this up. You know, it's not their color. It's kind of dull. It makes a great, great outline. The velvets, there's the black, there's the plum, there's maroon. We did look at the metallics as well, and the metallics are just wonderful. They also add a beautiful outline. And this piece here did not have an outline. I used the berries, the dimension. I used value change. I did not want this to be a harsh piece or a piece that drew attention. In a circular pattern, balance is key. So if I had outlined some, not outlined others, it would not have worked. So instead, nothing was outlined and the berries draw your eyes around. So like I said, it depends on the piece, and take a look at what you want to achieve with that piece. We're going to swing over here for just a minute, and then we'll get ready to say goodbye for September. But if you notice, this background, or it was supposed to be a background, was floated in here into these blueberries. This is how the blueberries were outlined, and the pear, and a little bit to draw your eye out here. The outline was done here. That was because it was, and this is a vintage rug, and this was because it wasn't standing up properly. But when it came to the scrolls she wanted softer, my interpretation. We've gone over these scrolls many times before, but she did not outline the scrolls because it would have contained them and ruined the flow of the scrolls. So this is a combination of outlining using a second medallion background, using this here and here to show the fruits and the flowers, but then no outline here to give you that soft wrap. So I hope that helps you make a decision when you go to outline or not outline and what you would like to achieve. Thank you very much. Enjoy your September, and we'll see you in October. Bye for now.